We have multiple huge Cowboys updates on CeeDee Lamb as he makes his return from injury, and a huge extension is coming for the Dallas Cowboys. We tell you all the latest and greatest right now on Dem Boys, right here on Cowboys Digest. Welcome everybody, I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show. Hope you're having a great Thursday wherever you might be. Got lots of good news for you here today, so without further ado, let's get right into today's show. CeeDee Lamb is back, my friends. Clarence Hill Jr. had the report talking to CeeDee Lamb, saying that he probably could have played last week against the Panthers. However, they chose to sit him one extra week so that he could be fully healthy and without limitations this week against the Commanders. We see it from Ian Rappaport. CeeDee Lamb is back. And this is, first of all, a very good thing for the Dallas Cowboys, who almost kind of need a kick in the pants a little bit to try and get them going. I would argue that the offense has been just fine and that it's not really their job to get the quote-unquote kick in the pants. But if you're able to consistently score, Dak Prescott was asked about it today, do you feel pressure to score every drive? And he said, well, I plan to do that every single time I step out on the field. It's not about whether the defense does this or not. So now you're going to have George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb mixed together, and it's going to be a very good combination for the Dallas Cowboys. And for a team in the Washington Commanders, who I don't really see their secondary as anything great, it could be a tough time for them on Sunday. CeeDee Lamb was missed in his time away from the team for sure. 3 games played. Obviously, that third game against the Bears didn't really do anything at all. And the yardage he had throughout the first 2 games, 222 yards on 24 targets. It was a very good first couple of games. And we hadn't seen the production from George Pickens just yet. That was something that was, I'm not going to say lacking at the time, but for the expectations for the Cowboys, the way that they were speaking about George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, that combination, it didn't exactly kind of go that way. And now it seems like we're going to get a second shot at it. So let's talk a little bit about some of the quotes and kind of going through all of this. So CeeDee was asked, he could have played last week. He said, quote, I'm out there moving around, running around, being me, happy as I can be. Dak Prescott said that he looked great, that he looks ready to go, and that Dak is very excited. It's going to be fun. I mean, imagine being a quarterback who has George Pickens putting up the numbers that he has been putting up, and then automatically, oh yeah, we're going to get CeeDee Lamb back. So that's pretty dang good. Let's go to a quote from Mr. Dak Prescott speaking about CeeDee Lamb, saying, quote, just the last 2 days of practice, he looks good. He's ready to go, obviously. I saw him last weekend during rehab, and he probably could have went then. Being careful, but he's ready to go. Looks great. It's going to be fun, end quote. So kind of that full one from the first that I just show you. But overall, the fact of the matter is that CeeDee was strictly doing this to make sure that he was fully healthy. And now you get to pair him up with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens together, and it's going to be a deadly combination. That's where we continue on in our report. Todd Archer of ESPN saying, quote, the pairing of Lamb and Pickens, who has a touchdown catch in 5 straight games, could take the offense to a different level. In Lamb's absence, the Cowboys moved Pickens throughout the formation. Now they can move both to create mismatches, end quote. And if you have been following the Cowboys for the entire season, if you've been following this channel for the entire season, you know that Brian Schottenheimer has mentioned how much he wants this offense to be really unguardable. Like, that's kind of the way he's going for it. And that is included in how many times he's putting in motion, how many times he's moving these receivers around, how many times he's able to adjust the formation, adjust the way that the Cowboys come out and get set. It can create for a whole nother level when you add back in CeeDee Lamb to an offense that has George Pickens, who is the only NFL player with 500 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns thus far this season. So there's a lot of good things about this offense, and I want to be so excited about it, and I am, but it's really hard for me to get pumped to know that both these guys are back when I look at the defensive side of the ball and know that Matt Eberflus might give up 40 points in the game, and so this offense does have to be perfect. There is no way that they can just, screw up a drive or screw up an interception or a fumble. It's just seems like the offense is so good, but they're walking on eggshells, and it's not really what you want from your team, and it's not really what you want to look at. However, I do think there is going to be a good thing coming up, and that kind of talks about where we go into more of George Pickens. So we all know his stats. In games without CeeDee Lamb this year, he has 19 receptions for 359 yards and 4 touchdowns, and a 154.6 rating when targeted. I feel like that's such an underused stat. about the rating when targeted, because quarterbacks can do a lot of things. And QBs can get these ratings, and it's all fantastic, and that's great. And the passer rating is a good thing for them to have specifically. But it's an underlooked stat for a wide receiver, because if your rating is insanely high when targeted, first of all, you're getting open a lot. Second of all, you're making the catches even when maybe they're not the greatest passes or when you're covered pretty heavily. And that's what George Pickens has continued to do day in and day out. And it really just kind of speaks to his work ethic. And I kind of go back to the days where he was coming in here from the Steelers, and people were talking about his attitude and kind of all that. And, it's a really big change. Now, Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb referenced his interview this summer as Kyler Murray in a softball tournament, but forget all that stuff. The beginning part of the quote. I don't think everybody really believed me until one of us went down and you saw. He's a dominant receiver, and that is George Pickens. And the question was asked for Jerry Jones. How's the idea of getting him back? Well, he said that's definitely on the docket. And then George Pickens today was asked about it. And here's what he said. Quote, "I wouldn't mind it. The guys in the locker room are super cool. The energy is great. I always want to showcase my talents." And that quote in and of itself is a very good thing to hear from a wide receiver who is going to be a potential, extension candidate. But I go one step further into talking about the relationships that have been built between both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Kind of go into another quote here. Dak on George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, quote, "Excited to see them both out there. And the best part about it is they're each other's biggest fans. They're each other's biggest supporters. They want to see they want to see that other guy go and get 10 catches, 2 touchdowns each game. So we've got to find a way to spread out 20 balls and 4 touchdowns." The George Pickens, the bad teammate, the Steelers George Pickens that he was not going to work out, he's a bad for the locker room type guy, is nowhere to be found. And I don't know if you want to put that on a growth from George Pickens. I don't know if you want to put that on the Steelers organization. That's up for interpretation, and I'm not here to interpret that. But I am here to say that George Pickens is a very good teammate, and that George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb are very good friends. We know from going through their beginning processes. They literally created a celebration in the preseason. They were in training camp and created a celebration that they do now when they're both out on the field. That's how close of friends they are. This is going to be fun to watch. And I have to stop myself because I understand. Getting George Pickens back, watching a guy who was putting up these stats, and especially the stats without CeeDee Lamb and the past 3 or 4 games he has had. But I really struggle because I want to be so excited. And I want to look at this and I'm like, this is exactly what the Cowboys do. This is perfect. The NFL is scared to death. But then I have to look back and remember that the problem with this team, it's not Pickens. It's not anybody on this team. It's the coaching staff. It's the defense, the defensive coordinators, the defense in and of itself. Now, is it great to see stuff like this where you have a bunch of quotes coming out and Dak Prescott, kind of talking about how he would like to see George Pickens back, and he was asked whether or not he would speak with Jerry Jones on the importance of getting Pickens to an extension. And here's what Dak said here real quick. "I've been a little busy, but I will. When I run into him in that time of privacy, I'll make sure." The point of the matter is this. The defense may not be the greatest this year. And I don't know what we can do to fix it, because there's scheme issues, there's lack of effort issues, and no matter what, you could put Micah Parsons on this team, and it wouldn't matter. And he's playing horrible this year. Or not horrible, but not as good as you think. It's that problem. And so if you can extend George Pickens, I'm not saying that this is like, we can just try again next year. That's not the point. But if you can extend George Pickens, if you can figure out at the trade deadline to not worry about maybe get a backup running back to help out with Javonte, and then get somebody on defense, get an edge rusher, get somebody in the secondary and a safety-wise. That's where you go look. Heck, go sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Something needs to be done on the defensive front because offensively, you're getting pieces back. And I know there's DeMarvion Overshown coming back. There's Siobhan Revel Jr. coming back. But those guys are, in my opinion, not going to be enough to fix the deep down problems of this defense. is kind of the thing you have to look at. So obviously all great stuff. Hopefully the extension is getting done with Mr. George Pickens, but that's all we got for you here today. We'll keep you updated on everything that you have to know about the Dallas Cowboys. And so if you're still here and you're not subscribed, go down there. It's 100% free. We appreciate you. Have a great Thursday. We'll see you next time here on Cowboys Digest. Peace out, guys.